Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I will be doing a breakdown of Interview with the Vampire, episode 1, season 1, In Throes of Increasing Wonder. So let's get right into it. This breakdown will contain spoilers. So I'm telling you guys right now, if you have not seen the episode, please go back and watch it and then come back. Subscribe or like so that way you can stay in touch with my channel and come back and watch it when you have free time. Let's get right into it. So, guys, I was completely blown away by this episode. I mean, it's crazy. Like it really sets up the tone for the rest of the show. So upon coming into this episode, we see Daniel Malloy, who is a human, and Daniel is, just kind of like showing his daily life and the things that he does. And it really opens up with the commercial to kind of give us this introduction of Daniel, and I thought it was really brilliant to do it through the commercial. But basically, the commercial is about him, being a journalist and an interviewer, and basically mentoring kids and things of that nature. So then he goes to the mailbox, and Daniel then receive tapes from an interview that he did years ago with the vampire Louis de Dulac, and it is an invitation to come back and to redo this interview, and Daniel then accepts. As Daniel, accepts the interview, he's picked up in three expensive cars, and I thought that was very significant because, like, usually when you see someone who has like a car in the middle and a car in the front and a car in the back, that means that they're doing it not to like show off, but they're doing it in the way of protection. You see it with celebrities, you see it with royalty, you see it with presidents, people of government. So I was like, to me, I didn't notice it at first until I went back to watch it again. But to me, I felt like that was very significant, and it kind of showed you, it was kind of giving you a little nugget to what Daniel was entering into, without saying it directly, very indirect nugget. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed that. But anyways, moving on. So, Daniel and Louis then meet, and he has this assistant named Rashid. And Rashid is, kind of off to the side. He's just a little assistant. And we have, Louis, and we have Daniel's dynamic. Now, to me, this was very interesting. So I had to put this in my review. Is that, like, their dynamic was very much different than I thought it would be. If you are somebody who has read the books, I haven't read all of them, but if you are somebody who read the books, Interview with the Vampire, and if you are somebody who actually watched the movie Interview with the Vampire, I don't know what your expectations were, but my expectations were not for them to be very kind of, their dynamic was very like resentful, and well, not resentful, but like there was like tension there, and a little bit of anger, and a little bit of frustration, and a little bit of, I mean, I was expecting it to be a little bit more friendly, but it wasn't. Their dynamic when they first meet is like, a little tense there. And I guess it maybe has to do because, Daniel is a grumpy old man, but still I was like, okay, this is interesting. I liked it. I liked it. So anyways, moving on. So Louis begins to tell us about his life. The interview begins to take place, and Daniel is more experienced. He's ready. He's ready to go. And of course, we hear Louis. We start to hear Louis' story from his perspective, and we go into this story, and he tells us about his life. Okay, this is back in the 1900s, and he begins to tell us about how the start of his life before he became a vampire and the beginning of when he was a vampire. So it's just the whole dynamic and the whole story within itself is exciting. But Louis goes to telling us that he started off as a pimp. So Louis starts off as a pimp, and he is this person who is pretty much living his life. His purpose is to provide for his family. Pretty much his dad is gone, he's passed, and he has basically taken the position of his family. Now with Louis, it's very, very interesting because in his approach, this is a character that loves his family. He loves providing for his family, but there's this sense of pressure that you feel for him because he is carrying a lot in this family. Um, Obviously he's not, like the average black person, and I think when you just coming into the episode, you tell that right away. You can tell that right away because of the way he explains himself. And his family used to own a plantation, so there's always this expectation of him to kind of be above, and not kind of subjected to what most black people have had to go through during that time. And so he, he's a pimp and he has, a prostitution business where he makes money to provide for him and his family, and which is awesome. So, he's like no, like, street side pimp, like he's making good money for that during that time. And then as time goes on, as we get to the kind of like toward the middle of the episode, um we have Paul, who is Louis's brother, who is kind of like just against everything that he's doing. And then he begins to challenge Louis, if you will, on what he's doing in his stance of being a pimp and profiting off of what he called the damnation of souls. And so Louis then pulls out his knife on him because his brother was going too far. He already had enough to deal with, and it was just too much. And then this vampire on the side named Lestat, and he sees Louis for the first time, I believe. And then it just kind of goes on off from there. So Louis always visits this other prostitution club, whatever it's called, the Fair Play Saloon. And he always visits this woman named Miss Lily. Please put the Miss with the Lily. You have to put the Miss there. It's Miss Lily, not just Lily, but Miss Lily. And Miss Lily is this person that he confides in, but he pretends that he's actually sleeping with this woman, but he really just talks to her. But Lestat then, he already has an arrangement at a very table that's hard to get. And the vampire Lestat then begins his pursuit of Louis there. They meet each other for the first time, and there's this instant attraction that Louis tries to fight that he does not know how to deal with or handle. He reacts to it in anger, not want, not a need, but in anger. It's like, how dare you make me feel this way? How dare you? And then the stat is just very open in the way that he feels. So as they sitting down and talking for the very first time, Lestat really puts it out there, and he's like, you are the reason why I bought a townhouse. And it's like, what the heck? Like, who comes up and just openly says these things? And even Louis is like, you said a little bit more than what you should have. So right then and there, it shows the opposite of Lestat and Louis. Very beginning, how they're kind of opposites, and but Louis, he then meets him again at the card table where there's a whole bunch of rich racist white men. And then after that, they bond even more. Lestat ends up helping Louis to win by doing a cool vampire trick and freezing the people, freezing time. And then that's a kind of like a dig, or maybe to me, I think that there was like, in Lestat's perspective, it was kind of like, I can help you win, right? Like I want to be on your side. These men look down on you. I want to be on your side. I want to be with you. and I can also help you win. So I'm not just, he's just kind of like setting up the tone and kind of giving him a little dig there, a little nugget, and letting him know, hey, I'm here for you. I'm on your side. So as time progresses, we see Lestat then begins to pursue um, he begins to pursue Louis more, and they begin to talk to each other, and just like kind of like normal human beings do in a sense. He begins to talk to him, and then he meets his family. So Lestat is actually being very patient from his side, because Lestat just he's a very, if you know anything about the character Lestat, I wouldn't say that he's not patient, because I think that that is not true. I would say that he's the type of guy that's like know what he wants. He kind of wants it right then. So he courts Louis, right? He's courting him. He's taking his time to get to know him. He talks to him, and Louis opens up his struggles to him, and then he meets his family first, right? Before he decides to get intimate with Louis. And I'm pretty sure he would have loved to do this on the first night, but he wheels him in. And I think that's very important to note, because it shows you from how the very beginning, this was something that he wanted to actually last. This was not him just meeting some random person and hooking up. From the very beginning, he wanted it to be something long term. But anyway, so after he had this dinner with his family, he then used Mrs. Lily as a bait to lure Louis in. And I wouldn't say that he necessarily needed Miss Lily, because he could read Louis's mind as a vampire. I'm pretty sure that he could probably even smell his attraction. So he already knew that Louis was attracted to him. But when you are a person who is smart and as cunning and as manipulative as Lestat, if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right, right? So this character Lestat, he used Miss Lily, who was the prostitute, and to lure Louis in, and then they end up being intimate with one another, and then he doesn't turn Louis right away. He actually just feeds from him. And this is like a very, very pleasurable experience that, you know, that humans can experience if a vampire is, allowing them to, if they were allowing a vampire to feed off of them, and, choosing to not kill them, and the vampire is choosing to not kill them, but to keep them alive. So, that was very interesting. The way that they set that up is like kind of very, very pleasurable, but very like intimate. And then we go on, and then we see the wedding between Louis' sister and her husband. And what's so interesting about this particular wedding is that we see Louis, in my opinion, the happiest that he has been in the entire season. Like, so this is very significant. He's dancing with his brother Paul, and they're tap dancing, and he seems so free. He's so happy. And he did mention that Paul was someone that he really opened up to. Um, and that, and so they have a special relationship, and then they go to the top of the house after the wedding. And then Paul kind of talks about how Lestat isn't a good person, which and Louis does make an announcement. It says that he's never going to see Lestat again. So Louis does not have any plans to reconnect with Lestat. But unfortunately, Paul ends up taking, um, you know, ends up going off of the roof. He does it on purpose, and he ends up dying. So after that, Louis is depressed, and he is very sad, and then they have to have his funeral, and then Lestat comes to the making, or when they're walking to go into the funeral, go to the gravesite. Lestat comes because he's upset because Louis does not plan to see him. Louis has been avoiding him, and it does not end necessarily well, because Louis ends up pushing him away. Like, dude, this is a funeral right now. Leave me the heck alone. And of course, Lestat does not care, as we know. So Lestat begins to call, Louis, and you can kind of see this from both ways, right? As a, you could he begins to call Louis in his mind, meaning like he begins to kind of bait Louis to come to him. So he keeps saying, "Come to me," but he's pulling him in his mind, and it's just Louis is fighting this, right? He's fighting it. He does not want to go to Lestat. He made a promise to his brother, who's now dead, that he wouldn't go to Lestat. So he's like, I'm not going to go to Lestat. I'm going to go to Miss Lily. He tried that. Miss Lily is pronounced dead, so she's actually been killed by Lestat. So then he tries to go to the priest, and he's like, listen, I need you to help me, because this vampire is in my head. I slept with this devil, and now I can't get him out. He's in me. And so Lestat is then even more upset, of course, because Louis isn't coming to him. And if you look at it from Lestat's point of view, I guess you could see it as, you know, um, the Lestat being upset that Louis isn't coming to him for help, or for him to be I guess, comforted in his time of grieving. I think that you can see it from Lestat's point of view, but from Louis' point of view, he sees him as this evil person. And he also suspects that he killed Miss Lily. So he's like, "No, I'm not going to go to you. I'm going to a priest. I don't need you. You're the last person I want to go to." And so then Lestat comes in, and he's very, very upset at the fact that Louis has been annoying him and not wanting to see him, and he begins to just just get violent and smash, priests' heads in, and do all these crazy things and kill the priest, and then he then begins to try to get back somewhat normal, and at the end he begins to pitch to Louis this lifestyle of a vampire, but more importantly, I think it's just more of the romantic part. He begins to lay out, Louis' life, and how how Louis is basically hiding his sexuality, how he's wearing these many hats. He's this so-called son. He's this pimp he has to be for his family. He's all these different things, and he was like, "Listen, you know." I see you, right? Lestat is like, I see you, and I see you for who you are. And I want you to be who you are. And I want you to be them unapologetically. And I want you to be that way with me for the rest of eternity. And, Louis actually is in a very fragile place right now. He is broken, he's grieving, and his family would never be the same. His family dynamic has completely changed, and he actually agrees. He agrees to this life that Lestat has pitched to him, and then he is turned. The bonding process is very intense. It's very long. It's very drawn out. It's very strong, and then there goes the ending of this episode. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Be on the lookout for more videos. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you. Yeah, have a good one.